First of all, I want to thank the Student Impact Council and the terrific work that you guys are doing on the Impact Week. I think it's going to be really exciting for everybody, really great content. So I hope you all, if you haven't already, looked at the terrific list of activities and show up for all of them in the same way you're showing up today, even without the free food and the free Nespresso. So just a minute on the Center for Sustainable Business, which we formally launched last week. Our vision is a better world through better business, and our mission is to work with current and future business leaders to help them develop the experience, the skills, the understanding they need to really manage and lead organizations in a resource-constrained world, to manage risk, but also to create opportunity and innovation and create value for their companies and for society. And Nespresso is an incredible example of a company that has done that really from its roots and from its beginning. I've been lucky enough at Rainforest Alliance when I was there to work for 15 years with Nespresso and with Guillaume, who was the head of sustainability for Nespresso and very active in building an incredible coalition of stakeholders through something that Nespresso calls eco-collaboration. And then to go on fun trips with him to Colombia, right, where we met with thousands of producers, and I had to speak in Spanish, and it was very exciting. I did okay. And then also to spend time with, and sorry, Guillaume, but just doesn't quite match up, but with George Clooney, who's on Guillaume's advisory board. So very, very, a lot of nice perks in working with Nespresso besides the coffee. But more seriously, Guillaume's personal passion and commitment for sustainability is one that we're excited to have him come to the United States and lead and be the president of CEO US. And this is a big growing market for Nespresso. So really thrilled to have him here and also to be part of the advisory board of the Center for Sustainable Business. In addition to that, there's a number of students here that have joined the Nespresso MBA Challenge, which Nespresso has put out. So we've got a lot of connections with Nespresso. So we're gonna show two very short videos. I'm gonna turn it over quickly to Guillaume to introduce them, and then we're gonna have our conversation and questions with you.
What's that?
Nespresso.
Is that coffee?
Yeah.
I want in.
Ready.
Is that coffee?
Get ready to experience a cup above.
I want in.
Nespresso. What else? The coffee that you drink from the pot when you're growing up in Kentucky and Cincinnati, Ohio, was, sort of this very American, very watered down taste coffee. It sort of throws you off. You're like, what is that? Pour a lot of milk in it. And once you get to like Italy, for instance, and you start drinking a much richer coffee, it changes your taste completely. We were on a motorcycle ride through the Swiss Alps about almost 20 years ago now. And there was an Nespresso machine. I thought it was amazing to be able to go in and just go bloink and make a really great cup of coffee because it tasted so different. I mean, it really took your breath away. But I thought that was a very expensive, rich sort of elite place that had this machine that they'd built. I didn't understand that those machines were going to be able to be in your home. You know, I've been working with Nespresso for a lot of years now, and I've been to Costa Rica to their AAA farms, and there's a sustainability project with Nespresso that's surpassed by no one. Nobody in the world does it like they do. When you talk about sustainability, it means a lot of things. It means recycling, right? So now you're talking about aluminum capsules, not these plastic things that can live for 100,000 years. They've set this up so that if you are responsible and want to participate in truly recycling, it's very easy to do. And they'll take the capsules back and you can recycle 100% of the capsules. So sustainability means a lot of things. It's not just the idea of the farms or the plants themselves, it's also the people. They pay attention to the idea that if all of these people, starting at the farms, are looked after and given the opportunity to make a great product and be paid better, then the product and everything else rises to the top. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of the company.
Hi. Yeah, thank you first of all for the welcome, because I realized that that's the first session that you're organizing, so I feel very honored to be with you today. I just wanted to comment on these two videos because Tensie told me let's start with some fun with the advertising piece, which is funny and you know, helping us building some brand awareness in the US. But I wanted to connect with the second piece, which is also as important as the first one when it comes to brand content. So the more we will advertise the brand in the US, the more we'll push and explain what we are doing every day on the field. We are very lucky to have George Clooney to help us on both sides, and he's very credible on both sides, making a lot of fun on one side, but also working with us on a daily basis in some territories like Africa or like Costa Rica. So he's committed on both sides, and I think it makes things very credible. But I didn't want to show the advertising piece without showing the content piece, which is, for me, the complementary aspect of the brand that probably you know a little bit less than the first one. So that was my comment. I had a question maybe before starting the conversation is, how many of you know about Nespresso or knew about Nespresso before entering in this room and getting the cup? All right. Okay, just to have an idea of how we can... we had a bet with my colleagues over there about, what did you say, 20%? I said 30. I said 50, you lost.
Not that we're competitive or anything. Great. Well, thank you so much, Guillaume. Thanks for being here, and thanks for these the great videos. So, Nespresso is a high-quality coffee company, you know, and sometimes in the past people have thought, well, sustainability and quality, those two things don't really go together. So could you talk to us a bit about why sustainability is important to Nespresso? What have been the key risks that you're addressing, some of the key opportunities that you see, and the investments you've made in sustainability?
So maybe to start on your comment about opposing sustainability and business. You know, I joined Nespresso now 8 years ago, and I was managing sustainability and marketing. And I remember a few years ago, I was always saying, you know what, I'm covering marketing and sustainability, but I'm not schizophrenic. And I was opposing both of them. And now, after 8 years, I would say the contrary. I would never go back in sustainability without having marketing in hands, because I think it's working together. I'm convinced, and I can share some examples, concrete examples with you, that sustainability enables innovation as innovation is helping sustainability. So it's all coming together, and I don't see any conflict, neither tension. I think it has to be run hand in hand. Now, why is it important for us? It's very simple. If we are not doing what we are doing on a sustainability area, I think we will screw up the whole brand promise. We will not be a sustainable business. So what we are doing, and we have been doing for the last 13, 14 years on coffee, we started in 2003, yeah? It's just to make our business sustainable. It's not philanthropic, it's nothing about charity. It's about building a sustainable value chain, starting with farmers, to deliver on our brand promise on the long run. And if we don't do that with farmers, we will screw up on our business. So, and why is that? Is because one, I think you talked about quality. Now I prefer to talk about taste. We are sourcing the highest quality beans in the world. But first of all, we are buying a coffee profile. We are buying a taste. The AAA Sustainable Quality Program that we have is a tasting sourcing program. So we identified coffee profiles, we found them with farmers, where they are, how they are, and we have to make these farmers' communities sustainable, just because we want our coffees to be sustainable. That's the reason why we're doing all of that.
Can you describe for us a bit what is the AAA program, what is the partnership with Rainforest Alliance and all the other partners that you have? How does it help producers? What changes are happening on the producers' farms as a result of your work?
So AAA is quite unique in the way it was developed. Some may say it's a homemade program by Nespresso. It's not. It's a partnership. It started in 2002, the discussion, I guess, created in 2003 with the Rainforest Alliance. And we co-created this program for the reason I just was mentioning, is that we couldn't go to these farmers and tell them, you know what, get some labels and certification and come back to us when you're ready. We had to take these farmers and bring them in the program as they were and coach them and train them and help them to become sustainable. So we said, let's find out which NGO we could work with, because we didn't want to reinvent the sustainability standard. We were not expert in standard. We knew about quality. So eventually, the Rainforest Alliance accepted to partner in this program, bringing the sustainability standards, which was yours, and combined with our quality standards that were coming from Nespresso, and we created this AAA program. This AAA program is based on a kind of continuous improvement approach. So we identify the coffee profile and we say to the farmers, join us in this program. Start with a self-assessment vis-à-vis the rainforest standards. Where do you stand today? And where are the big gaps? And how we will work together with agronomists, with technical people to raise the bar, to improve your level of practices so that over time you will become, let's say, rainforest certifiable. I don't know if it's existing, and then when you're ready to get the certification, I'm talking to the farmers now, you will decide. You will make the call if you want to get the certification, because certification, I don't know if you know that, but certification, these rainforests or all these certification labels, have a cost for farmers. So we told them, we will pay for you for 1 year. You will make your own assessment because it's up to you to decide if you will continue. But what is interesting for us is that you upgraded your level of practices and you're committing to the rainforest standards, which is enough for us. Certification for us was never an end game, it was an enabler.
And you've done extensive studies on the environmental, social, and economic impact of the work. What kinds of changes did you see in productivity and yield, or in water quality, or in social issues as a result of the work with the farmers?
So here again, we had to partner with third party. We didn't want to self-assess what we are doing. So we partnered with an organization called CRECE. You may know CRECE, connected to the Federación Nacional de Cafeteros de Colombia. And they made the study for us. And year after year, they had a sample of 1,000 farmers and some control groups to assess what was the impact of our program on social, economic, and environmental perspective. And we had depending on the criteria, plus 20 on social, plus 40 on economic, plus 52 or 51. We published this result together. a few years ago as positive impacts created by the program at farm level. And we are monitoring that on a yearly basis now to see if we are continuing to improve. But we let third party to assess what we are doing and what was the impact.
One of the really interesting things I think in the studies showed that if you put in place better environmental and social practices along with good agronomic training, your productivity goes up substantially. So the environmental and social changes really helped. And you're now working with 70,000 farmers, correct?
Yeah, we have 70,000 farmers. So one of the uniqueness of the program that was also allowed by your model at the Rainforest Alliance is that we went to the farms. So we didn't stop our journey to the cooperative level. We are connected to each and every single farm of the program, and we are going farm by farm. We have a database, so we know all these farmers, and we know all their progress. So we're able to see how they evolved over years, farm by farm. And it's very important because we have this direct connection, which creates some kind of uniqueness, and we have now, I think, 320 agronomists on a daily basis that are going farm by farm to assess the progress, advise farmers, and see where are the remaining gaps, because it's a never-ending journey. Huh? It's a school of humility, a school of passions, a school of resilience, but we see year after year the progress of farmers. And what is very interesting, just to share a personal story, you know, I've been in Colombia many times, but I went back to Colombia in January with my team here in the US. So the whole board of Nespresso USA spent a few days on the farm, living the life of farmers. And every time I'm going in Colombia, I'm learning something. This time was really surprising me is how we shift the mindset from a coffee farmer to a business entrepreneur. And the farmers we met are really monitoring their farm like a small business, but as a business, which is, I think, at the end of the day, making a big difference.
Absolutely. So you talked earlier a bit about innovation, and it'd be terrific to hear how applying this lens of sustainability in your work has resulted in innovation for the company, new products, new services, new systems, new opportunities.
You know, I told you it's coming, it's working together, but I would like to share some examples because let's be a bit concrete here. So many of you know about the Nespresso range, so it will be very easy to explain. You may have noticed that we launched, I think it was in 2009, 3 pure origins, so single origins. One is coming from Colombia, it's coming from Cauca Nariño in south of Colombia, and it was an innovation. This coffee would not exist without our long-term commitment starting in 2003. This Rosabaya, next time you will enjoy a Rosabaya Grand Cru, think about the fact that without this commitment to farmers, this coffee would simply not exist. And it's one of the most expensive coffee of the range. So sustainability brings innovation, brings shared value. Because we are paying this coffee at a higher price in South Colombia, and we are selling this coffee at a high, under the high part of the range. So this coffee would not exist, but even more. And I think when we created this program, we didn't realize what was the potential. We were creating this program just to make our supply chain sustainable. Okay? Then we realized the innovation or the potential for innovation. So for those who were Nespresso Club member for years, I don't remember the year, maybe 2011, so 4 or 5 years ago, we launched a coffee called Nahora. It was a limited edition. It was coming from Colombia. The idea of Nahora was a first late harvested coffee. And if you go on a farm, for those who went in the coffee farms, the timing you're picking up the beans is critical. It cannot be, it has to be very precise. And at that time, we asked, coming from the, a kind of benchmark with the wine industry, we asked the farmers to pick the beans a little bit later to have this late harvest, profile, a coffee profile. And of course, this was a big risk for farmers because if you wait too much, you're losing your crop. So it was not that easy. I'm convinced that without building trust over years with farmers, they would never have taken any risk on their crop. But they did it, it worked, it was a marketing success, and it was a very big source of pride for farmers. So again, a nice example. I could have many of them. Maybe I should mention the one with George. So we have been discussing, you saw some of the videos we have been discussing with George about sustainability for years. And honestly, he would probably not advertise Nespresso without this belief that we are doing the right thing on the field with farmers. So we have been discussing for years, and in 2010 we went in Costa Rica, spent a few days again with farmers, and we started to talk about Africa, because Africa was definitely another area, another challenge, but another area where we wanted to invest. And we started, I remember maybe 3-4 years ago, nobody heard about that, very small, few farms, because there was nothing anymore related to coffee in South Sudan. Even George told us, it will be difficult. But since it was small, we decided to take the risk. We partnered with an NGO based in Washington, D.C., which is TechnoServe. Did you hear about TechnoServe? Amazing guys. And we went there, and we started to bring some coffee trees. By the way, we brought a depulping machine, just to depulp the coffee from Colombia to South Sudan. And we had few bags. I remember I was there 3 or 4 years ago, I don't remember. First coffee bags coming. You saw this pride in these coffee farmers' eyes. And finally, we launched this coffee in Paris last October. Very limited volumes, very limited. But it was an amazing success. And people loved the coffee, people and customers loved the stories behind the coffee. And it's not a public audience here, so between you and me, we will try to launch it in the US this year. So that's one of my objectives.
Another innovation, Guillaume, I know you've worked on is the use of technology and analytics to understand. So you have handheld devices where you're collecting information out in the field and tracking that information. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I know we have students who are very interested.
You should have seen Tensie's faces when she came in my office first time and she saw the database with the screen where I had live information coming from the farms. And she told me, can we use that at the Rainforest Alliance? I was so proud, to be honest. It was a nice reward for us. Now, so since we have this direct connection to farmers, around 70,000 farms, and 300 and more, 320, I think. I need to check my numbers today. Visiting the farms, we are a direct to customers business model. We are selling our capsules to end consumers. And I replicated this model for farmers, and I used to say we have our FRM model, which is Farmers Relationship Management Model and device, where we have, exactly as we have with end consumers, the same kind of information, dealing with farmers on a daily basis. So every 3 minutes, I have on my iPad, I don't have my iPad here, so I have on my iPad, and many people within Nespresso, live figures coming from the farms and progress of the farms, last visit of the day. So today, when I'll be back to the office, I'll know what's going on in each and every country when we visit farms and just assessing the progress. It's based on mobile technology. So all these people visiting farms have their laptop, looking at where the farm was standing last time they visited us, and then what are the progress that they made, and what are the action plans that are in place for the next couple of months. So it's like any CRM activity, translated to farmers.
So clearly farmers are a really important stakeholder for you, right? Where do you find this helping you with your competitive advantage? Do you have lots of other companies trying to steal the high quality coffee from the coffee producers that you work with? And how do you build that trust and engagement so that others don't take them away from you? But
to start with, we don't have any contract with farmers. We don't want to constrain farms into a contract when you're a corporation like ours. what would it mean to have a contract with a 1 hectare of farms in Colombia? It doesn't make any sense. So it's just based on long-term commitment. Of course, if somebody is going in these farms and paying a higher price, most likely the coffee will go to this brand. I think we realized over time that beyond price, which is very important, let's be clear, and we are paying a very high price compared to the market commodity price. The long-term commitment, training, has more and more importance in farmers' mind. They realize that training may have more impact on the medium and long term on yield, for example, compared to price. And we also, through studies, we were able to show that yield is a bigger driver for net income compared to price. So if you want to increase what we call the real farmer income, you better work on yield instead of paying higher price. But it's true that if somebody's coming in the Nespresso AAA farms today and paying a higher price, he may get the coffee. Now, the competitive advantage is that you can buy and you can pay more for quality. And it's a competitive field where anybody can compete. Where it's more difficult to compete is on taste. To replicate a taste of this capsule that you have in the back of this room is a bigger challenge. So for me, that's why I believe in the taste uniqueness of Nespresso compared to the highest quality, which is an enabler of taste.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the coffee industry in general and sustainability and what's happening there? Is Nespresso the only company doing this? Who else is doing it? What's the difference? And where do you see the trends going? What are the key environmental and social issues that are really pushing the industry to change?
It's very difficult for me to comment on the whole industry because I'm probably not the expert. I would definitely not pretend that Nespresso is the only one. But we are doing something, I think, in a different way. We insourced a lot for the reason I just mentioned at the beginning. We insourced a lot of our responsibility when it comes to impact that we are creating on a farm. So the trend is there. The interesting trend, which is obvious in the world and more specifically in the US, is the fast-growing trend on coffee specialties, meaning high-quality coffees compared to the rest of the industry. This means what? It means that many and more people are looking for higher quality experience or upgraded coffee experience. That's what we are trying to explain in this piece of advertising. But in the US, it's clear now that people are looking for more or higher quality coffee. So that created a kind of tension between supply and demand, because if the demand on the coffee specialty is growing fast, we better have a supply chain that is delivering on this demand. And this was why we created this program. Now, on the trend, if we look forward, it's interesting. When I try to revisit the story of what we did together at the Rainforest Alliance, for me, it started early in the year 2000. And in the year 2000, I was not in these first meetings, but I'm pretty sure that corporation working with NGO was not an obvious topic. It was to bring people together to create this program was probably not easy. And the first 6 years, I would say, we had to learn. And we learned so much. And we made mistakes. And we improved and we corrected. So year 2000 was about learning, working together. Then we had this 2009, 2014, again, 6 years about partnering together. So now it's obvious that we're working together. And we have this Nespresso Sustainable Advisory Board where we have the whole NGOs and academics industry working together. And we see the impact and the benefit of that. I'm convinced that the future is about impact investing. The future is about leveraging our investment, bringing more people in the journey, or bringing more people on board. And it's all about finance now. And I told you once, my dream is to have now Wall Street bankers working with NGOs and corporations all together to leverage the potential, because we didn't start that journey. So that's, for me, that's the next phase.
Can you tell us a little bit about the pieces of the next phase? I know you're working on agroforestry and pension funds for farmers and a sustainable development fund. So maybe you could give us some specific examples of.
Yeah, we try to be consistent. One of the learning when I joined Nespresso was you can do a lot of great things with farmers, but we need to be consistent on the whole value chain, because if you have some weaknesses somewhere, it will be very difficult. That's why we also worked a lot and invested a lot on recycling to be completely consistent and relevant from A to Z. And in the whole value chain, we try to identify what are the biggest challenges that we have to face, and we will invest as a priority on these challenges. So we had, just to give you a few examples, we had Africa, because Africa is a different model and different challenges. So we had Africa as a one pillar. Water management, particularly in Colombia, small farms not working together. So water management is an other area. Social, I would not say social security, but new generation at farm, meaning we have farmers, aging today in the coffee farms, and young generation leaving the farms. So that's a very critical sustainable challenge. So we created as a pilot, we have now 1,000 farmers part of this program in Colombia. We created the first pension fund system for Colombian farmers. Trying, one, to bring them security and not to force them to work until the end, which is a reality today. And also allowing their kids to hand over and continue the activity on the farm. So it has been pretty successful. Now the question we have, and this is a discussion we'll have in April at the next advisory board, is how do we scale up? How do we leverage this pilot to make it bigger and wider? And the fourth one is climate change and farm resilience. So we have an agroforestry program. We believe in agroforestry and land restoration, but not, buying, again, not outsourcing this topic to others, but insetting our footprint in our value chain. So we are, we have agroforestry program within the Nespresso value chain around the farms. It creates additional revenue for farmers. It creates farm resilience. Colombia, landslides is a big challenge, so we have to plant trees to fix the soil. And it's all benefiting to Nespresso, because the more we're creating sustainable and resilient farms, the better is the future for our business. It's as simple as it is.
So maybe you could turn a bit to recycling, because I know you've had lots of challenges with that, right? And maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what the vision is and what have been the difficulties you've had to overcome in trying to get 100% recycling of your capsules.
So recycling, we started in 2007 to really engage, and actually in 2009, when we launched this platform, we said we want at least to create capacity to recycle. Because one of the challenges, you cannot, our capsules are in many countries too small to be considered as a recyclable packaging by municipalities. So we had two options. Or we wanted to start negotiation for 20 years with municipalities to accept this packaging in their system, or we wanted to take the lead and create some homemade programs, even if it's a costly activity, but to allow people to engage in recycling, because our system is very efficient if we recycle, because it's precise when it comes to coffee and hot water, which are the two main drivers of the footprint of an espresso cup. The packaging is the third driver. It's not the first one, as maybe you can imagine, but the capsule is the third driver. Of course, if you reuse a packaging, it's becoming very efficient. We have the exact grammage of coffee, the exact volumes of hot water, and then if we have a reusable packaging, then it's the good recipe. Now we have to make people recycling. The first challenge was to allow them to recycle. So we created, depending on the countries, it started in Switzerland, by the way, 20 or 25 years ago. where we implemented our own collection points. And then Europe engaged very, very quickly, and very quickly we achieved 80% of our business covered by recycling system. US, we did great progress since the last 12 months. If I want to make this long story short, today, for those who are Nespresso Club members, there is no excuse anymore not to recycle. You can, of course, drop your capsules in any of our stores, but we also partnered with UPS. So you can have prepaid bags where you can drop your bags in any kind of UPS truck or any UPS location, and we'll take care of these capsules. These capsules today we'll bring back in New Jersey in a facility where an amazing guy, by the way, I met recently with Katarina, is taking care of the capsules. The coffee is going to compost, and the aluminum is going back to the aluminum value chain. So today, if somebody wants to engage in recycling, it's definitely possible, and there is no excuse not to do it. So I invite you to engage more in this recycling program. Now, the next challenge for us is raising awareness, because many people don't know what they can do to recycle. We will definitely try to communicate more with some celebrities about recycling. We will also put some recycling bags in the machine pack, so that first contact with the brand, when you open your machine for the first time, you will be invited to engage in the recycling program. My point to finish on that is that we can build capacities, we can do a lot, but we will never succeed without customer engagement. It's a win-win deal that we have to make here. We will never be able to go in your kitchen and take care of your capsules. We need your help, we need your engagement. Very often I'm asked if we should incentivize people recycling. And would be very happy to hear you about that. Personally, I don't think we are buying customer responsibility. I think it's a matter of everybody, and everybody has to make some 100 miles to make it successfully. So that's what I believe, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll do whatever we want. One, to raise awareness. Second, to make it as convenient as possible. And if not sufficient, we'll think about new ideas.
Thank you, Guillaume. So I'm going to ask you a couple of personal questions and then turn it over to the group for their questions. But before I do that, I just want to sort of summarize a couple of key themes that we've heard from Guillaume about a company that is all about making money, that's doing a very good job at it, by the way, and really growing its market share, has an incredible product, but is doing that in a way where they're thinking through and mapping every single aspect of the sustainability of their work, and also doing it in a way that's very inclusive, bringing in other stakeholders to help them learn and to teach those stakeholders. So from the beginning, they've approached it with, well, first we need to understand where our farmers are. What are the key issues and challenges that they have? How do we help them address those so that they can be long-term sustainable? Who are the players, the Federation of Coffee Producers or the Rainforest Alliance or TechnoServe, that we need to bring in, the academics we need to bring into this? And then they never rest on their laurels. After they've learned that, they said, well, now we need to really figure out how we deal with the fact that farmers are getting old and not being replaced. We need to think about pension funds for them. Or we now see climate change is really affecting the quality of the coffee. We can't say that's someone else's problem. We need to figure out how we can be a player in this. Recycling, well, you know what? This is an issue we're doing our best. Our best isn't good enough. We need to keep figuring it out till we can get to 100%. Constant improvement, constant focus on sustainability as a good mainstream business practice, which is, I think, really exciting and also shows the real benefit in terms of innovation, and also, I think, bringing exciting employees to Nespresso because they want to work there, right? So shifting from that, Guillaume, can you tell us, students here, a bit about your personal path? How you got involved in sustainability, and is that something that you're going to take with you no matter what you do? And what kind of advice do you have for students who are generally told, well, you can do your job and go and sort of just make money and work for a regular corporation, or you can go work for a nonprofit. Is there another path for people who want to try to do both?
Wow, that's a difficult question. So you want me to start with me?
Start with you first.
Listen, I joined Nespresso. I was not involved in sustainability, and I was asked to go and start to look at that. I came in that topic with my personal beliefs and not more. Absolutely no expertise, no knowledge, nothing, but at least some personal belief. And I think it's critical in the second part of my answer regarding some advices, if I may. So I had my personal belief, and I started to learn. I'm convinced after a few years, one, that it's a one-way ticket. There is no way back when you join this journey as a personal journey before being a professional one. I think it's critical. It has to be personal first. There is no way back. So just to give you an example, when I've been asked or proposed to move from Switzerland to New York, which is a bit of stretch, I must admit, and very exciting, I was thinking about this and say, shall I give up with all my commitment? And I have these farmers, and when you commit to a farmer family, or you have some, emotional connection with some people, you cannot stop that overnight because you're changing your job. So it's a personal journey, and you have to build your career path with this personal commitment. It's not easy. It's something new. So I said, I'm going to go in the US, run a business, but first of all, I think you can run a business in a different way, or I don't think there is any other way to run a business but being sustainable in the way you're doing that. And secondly, I've asked to keep one of my feet in the sustainability area. That's why I'm still sitting in the advisory board, and I'm still working on some sustainability project, looking for new ideas. How do you get more value from an initiative? How do you get more value from coffee ground? How do you get more value from aluminum? What is the potential for innovation? And at the end of the day, you realize that all what I'm doing on sustainability is helping me to run a better business. And I think I have much more stories to share about sustainability that will have an interest for business. Instead of doing a standard business and running like any other people. So it's creating some competitive advantage as a business and also as a person. So it's also a school for humility. So I'm not here to teach, neither advise anybody. I think you have to find your own journey. We were walking in the corridor and looking you guys sitting in the room, in the classroom, and I wish I would be a student again. You're very lucky because you can make some decision now. You can change. You can decide whatever you want. I would suggest to really start to investigate what you believe in as a person, and then build your professional career based on what you have in heart before having in mind. And I don't know how many of you did experience on the field with Moody Boots some sustainability program, but I would start with that. I would, backpack and go somewhere in Africa, somewhere in South America, if you're interested in coffee, but somewhere in the world where you will get your own experience and make your final decision, because it's, to be honest, with no offense, it's not in a classroom in New York that you can get what's behind that and the substance of and the potential of sustainability. So I would definitely take a plane and my Moody Boots on my backpack and go and spend some time and live my experience. Then it will be much clearer to make your decision on your career path. That's what would be my advice. That's what I would do if I would be a student again.
Thank you. So now we have an opportunity for people to ask questions. Yes, and please identify yourself.
So, hi, my name is Santiago. I'm an MBA student here at Stern. And I was wondering, like, it is clear that there is a lot of, not only a positive direct impact in the farmers by the Nespresso AAA program, also there are some externalities in the regions, positive externalities. But I wonder if you have identified any negative externalities in the regions, and if you have, what are you doing to work to improve that?
Spontaneously, I would mention two of them. The first one is driven by New York market price. Price volatility is definitely one aspect that we need to talk about. And the second one is more on the field, at farm level, about La Roya, which create a lot of impact on the yield and then on the farmer's revenue. So what we do on these two aspects as examples, we are a small player in the whole coffee world. Let's be clear. We are a very healthy and fast-growing business, but we are still small compared to the global. I'm talking Nespresso. I'm not talking Nestle here. A small player. So we said, you know what? We cannot change the world as a corporation. We can do what we have to do. We can bring our contribution, but we will never fix the price volatility as such. It would be so arrogant to think that you can do that. So we are building on the market principles. So what we said, what we can influence, we will influence. What we cannot, it is what it is. So New York market price is evolving, and we are following this price volatility. But the premium we are paying when it comes to quality and AAA coffee, which is about 40% above New York prices, is paid in absolute value. Okay? So whatever the market price is going up and down in New York, what we are doing is a commitment on absolute value. Meaning also that the more the price is going down in New York, the more important the AAA premium is becoming important for farmers. We have 90% loyalty farmers. 90%. All the farmers who started with you, Tensie, in 2003, many of them, if not all of them, are still in the program. It's not by chance. And farmers are not stupid. They see where is their interest. Okay? So again, we influence and impact as much as we can where we can, without becoming arrogant, saying we will change the world because we are Nespresso. It would not mean anything. On La Roya, we saw very good results due to the agriculture practices that are promoted by our agronomists together with the Rainforest Alliance. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but we saw big differences in yield, at least yield decrease mitigation by good practices on La Roya. It doesn't mean that we're going to fix La Roya. So we have two different, you know what is the rust on it's the rust on the coffee trees, which are killing the trees. So practices is a big driver, and also trying new coffee tree varieties that are more resilient. So we are also allowing farmers to test some new varieties so that they can be more resilient to the rust.
Hi, Alex Golding, alumnus, founder of HelpedHope.com. I was wondering, in terms of justifying, or I guess the balancing act between choosing profitability versus social impact. Can you walk us through the thought process in terms of how do you analyze, like, how much social impact is worth X amount of dollars of investment? Because, for instance, with the Africa project, you said that was expensive, it was risky, took many years to develop. Can you just walk us through some of that process, that higher level analysis, please?
I firmly believe in the Nestle idea of creating shared value. I think this is a very strong concept that needs to be explored, because that's exactly what we are looking for. How do we create value for everybody? Our club members in their coffee experience, our shareholders, and all our partners along the value chain. So it's all coming together. In South Sudan, let's be honest, we're going to lose money for a while. It's a very risky, it's a costly project. It will take years, but it's also bringing some new experience. It's also driving some equity for Nespresso. It's bringing some innovation dimension to the brand. So everybody's winning in that perspective. I would not I don't see a trade-off between, investing and profit. I think it's part of our DNA. If we don't do that, we die anyway. Okay, so we have to do that. And we have been successful in both top-line growth and profit, so it's working. Now, if somebody is asking me what's the return on investment of South Sudan, it's very difficult. It has to be holistic. It has to be comprehensive. It cannot be, what's the payback of a certificate of the partnership with the Rainforest Alliance when you pay certification to farmers or labels? I don't know. I know what we're investing. I know it's making a very successful business, and we know that we have a positive impact at farm level. That's it.